Hi family, today we are making two kinds of cake, one mixing. We are going to make some black cake and we're going to make some plain cake. Black cake is a Caribbean fruit cake. It's the staple in the Caribbean, especially at Christmas. Every island have their own version of black cake. I'm going to show you the way I know from St. Vincent.
So these are the ingredients we're going to be using today. We're going to start with some butter and brown sugar. We also have eggs, some almond essence or extract, some vanilla extract. Of course, if you have the pure instead of imitation, that's even better. Some Vincent Strong Rum, because of course you have to. We're going to use the peel of this lime, as well as baking powder, flour, some cinnamon and nutmeg. Of course, you can use the authentic fresh kind, or you can go with the powdered versions, either one. We also have our fruit mix, which has already been soaked and blended in wine, some maraschino cherries. These are some chopped up walnuts, and then gravy master or browning. So this will get us both our sponge cake and our black cake.
In the bowl right here we have 1 pound of butter and 3.5 cups of sugar. So we're gonna mix this and then we're gonna continue from there. We're gonna mix this until it gets creamy. Until it gets creamy.
So this is after about 3 minutes. Getting nice and fluffy. And along the way, we'll want to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure that everything around the rim is also incorporated. All right, so we turn it off for a bit just to scrape down the sides. I know the mixer is a little bit loud, so hopefully you can hear us as we're talking and mixing at the same time. So it's been about 15 minutes of us having this mixed together on medium speed. It even got lighter and you don't hear the granules from the sugar as much. So I guess it's ready. What do we do next?
I'm gonna put in the eggs. I'm gonna crack them one at a time in a bowl and then pour it in.
And I know usually what you used to do, we would mix the eggs separately with the essence or extract, the rum and stuff like that before adding it to the butter and sugar.
Get it right, some Vincent Strong Rum.
Oh, excuse me. So we're taking out the little white portion there.
Yeah.
We don't want that in our cake.
So we're gonna put it on low while I put them in and let them incorporate. I'm gonna put between 8 and 10 eggs in here.
Right, I know that bacon is usually an exact science, but when it comes to stuff like black cake or even our plain cake, there's a little wiggle room. Okay, so about half of our eggs are in at this point. We have to put the rest, but what do we need this lime peel for?
This is to cut the freshness from the egg.
Okay.
In the cake. Some people put the rind. My mom never did. And
like the zest of it, they zest the lemon. Okay.
Zest. But we always put this, and then at the end of the mixing, we take it out.
So you basically peel the whole lime.
Peel the whole lime.
In one shot.
Yeah. Sometimes it would break up, but this one.
Because you got skills. Go ahead. Okay. Show off if you must.
I got skills, so I got the whole rind.
So it's in there for the mixing, so that the eggs don't have that smell to it.
This and essence and rum.
Oof, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Oof, that's the exciting part. Yeah. All right, so we put it in and then you let it continue mixing as you add the rest of your eggs.
Right.
We got a little bit of old school with a little new school. Because that rind technique must be old school. But then the mixer is obviously bringing everything to the 21st century. Okay, so this is what we're looking like after all of the eggs have been added. Next up, we're gonna add the extracts. So that one is almond extract. And I will confess, typically speaking, my mom does not measure anything when she's cooking or baking other than like the sugar and flour. She just puts some. So for the sake of trying to give you an idea of how much to put, she's measuring it out. This one is the vanilla extract. This happens to be imitation, so you would want to add a little bit more than you usually would to get the full flavor. Okay. Add it right on in. And then for the secret weapon, we have the Sunsent St Strong Rum.
The best strong rum you can buy. I'm doing 4 of this stuff.
And then when we turn off the camera, she's gonna add 4 more splashes, so. And we will have all of the measurements and ingredients listed in the description box below for you, so you can go ahead and check that out. That's all the final measurements that we've used. And at this point, we are still focused on making the plain cake, right?
Yeah.
So like she said, we're doing both plain cake and black cake from this one bowl that we're mixing. And you'll see how we do that in just a little bit. But this is the foundation of the plain cake before you're even thinking about making black cake, right? Okay. All right, so next up is the flour and the baking powder, right?
Right.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start sifting our flour. We're thinking about maybe 3 cups of flour. We'll see how it comes together. And we're just sifting it on this flexible cutting board so that it's easier for us to get it into the mixing bowl. And we started on low so that the flour won't try to escape from the bowl. Uh-oh. There we go. So as that gets incorporated, we're gonna go ahead and sift out the rest of our flour, 1 cup at a time. So we're putting in 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and we still have to add our 3rd cup of flour. We haven't added that yet. So right now there's the 10 eggs, the butter, the sugar from before, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, our extracts, and our rum. All right, here goes our 3rd cup of flour. So just scraping down the bowl, making sure everything's incorporated before we give it a final mix, because this is the batter for the plain cake. And the reason that we usually do it this way is because not everyone in our family eats black cake. So we get some plain cake out of it, like a sponge type of cake, and then also the black cake for those who enjoy it. All right, so it's been a little while. We had to take a break, but at this point, our batter is ready to go in the pan. So this is for our plain cake. So we'll go ahead and lower the bowl and scoop out about half of the batter that's here into the bowl. Now our texture did change a little bit from when we first mixed it because we did have to take a break to arrange a few other things. So we're aiming for about half of the batter to come out, maybe a little bit more than half. And again, this sort of recipe doesn't have to be super exact. My grandma and her mama and all of them made this cake without measuring cups and spoons and things, and were able to eyeball it and come up with the delicious recipes that we know now. So a little bit more. We're eyeballing it. Half a spoon more. Okay, so here is our batter for the plain cake. The pan is a little less than halfway full, and this is a 9-inch pan. We have it at 350, and we're gonna put it, we'll start in the middle, and then if need be, we'll move it up to the top. While that bakes, we're gonna go ahead and use the rest of the batter to make our black cake. So we're gonna add everything else to the base that we've already made here. Oh, and there's the lime peel. Glad you caught that. We completely forgot to take that out. All right, so we're ready to start adding in our fruits and the few other ingredients for the black cake. Here we have some of our fruits that have already been blended and soaked in wine. So what we did was we had a container with the fruit cake mix. This was actually what it came in when we bought it. It's like the mixed peel of the different fruits as well as raisins. We did about equal parts of both. We covered it in wine in the container, let it soak for about a week or two. You can soak it for months, some people soak it for forever. So there's really no right or wrong way to do it, but the purpose of soaking the fruits in the wine is to allow them to absorb some of the wine. Then you blend it together in a blender, and this is the consistency that we're left with. It doesn't look like much. It doesn't look the best actually, but it is raisins and the mixed peel with wine, a red wine in this case, that we've blended up here together.
You don't have to blend it pure like that because
right, this one is blended pretty thoroughly. You could leave it on the chunkier side where you're able to see the fruits a bit better, but we do actually also add in some just sliced cherries at the end so that you do have more texture and bite to it. All right, so here we go. We're gonna raise our mixer back up and turn it back on. And the reason we were able to use more than half of the batter for the plain cake and leave a little less for the black cake is because once we start adding everything in, it is gonna bulk it up quite a bit. So as you can see here, she's eyeballing it. But in the description box, we'll let you know precisely, or somewhat precisely, how much we ended up using so that you can replicate the recipe if you want to. So that was about 32 ounces. That's how much this holds. But the 32 wasn't quite enough, so we're gonna add some more until my mom feels like it's the right amount. And at this point it's gonna be more fruits than cake, but that's okay.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's a fruit cake, really. And that cake is mostly about the fruits.
We ended up adding about equal parts of the fruits to the batter that was there, so it is expected to be very fruit heavy, at least in our recipe. As that combines, we're gonna add in our spices. So we have some cinnamon going in. This is a little less than half of a tablespoon. We have some nutmeg, and again, you can go authentic and grate your cinnamon and nutmeg from scratch if you want to. We're gonna use the shortcut that God gave us. And again, we'll have more precise numbers in the description box for you there.
Nothing like that. Already.
And just as she added it, she said, smelling like black cake. We're gonna add in the browning. So this is what's gonna give us the color that black cake is known for. In this case, we're using Gravy Master, but you can use any browning you want. I've even remembered you using molasses in the past, like a combination of things. Of course, certain ingredients will change your flavor of your cake. So molasses, of course, is on the sweeter side. The Gravy Master doesn't have too much of a flavor of its own, so it doesn't overpower your cake ingredients. And this you're gonna add until you reach the browning of your desire. Also keep in mind that your cake will get a little more color as it's baking, and when you soak it afterwards, which is customary for black cake, as you soak it with red wine, it will get darker as well. All right, so that's the whole 5-ounce bottle of Gravy Master in there. So we're just sifting a little bit more flour. What happens is that the wine and the moisture from the fruits, it loosens up the batter. So this is about 3/4 of a cup of flour. And since we're adding more flour, we're gonna add a little bit more baking powder as well. That's about 1/2 tablespoon. Alright, so here we are with the flour combined, the extra 3/4 of a cup that we added. We're also adding in the chopped walnuts at this stage. This is about 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup as well. And then we add in about 3/4 of a cup of maraschino cherries as well. These have just been sliced into 4s. So between the walnuts and the cherries, you are getting some bite when you're eating the cake. So this is what our final batter for the black cake is looking like. Nice and dark. Again, that's depending on the darkness of your liking, and as it bakes it will get some more color as well. So all we have to do next is get it separated out into our baking pans. As you can see, the batter did rise up quite a bit after we added the rest of the ingredients, the fruits, the browning, and all that. So we have a lot more than we did of the plain cake batter. Here are the cakes. We just got them out into the pans. We love these pans because they are non-stick and they work really well. So we don't have to butter and flour them like we usually would. We are getting 2 full-size cakes out of that batter, as well as the small one that we're gonna use as a tester, because these 2 cakes will likely be gifts. So about 10 to 15 minutes into baking, we did decide to lower the temperature of the plain cake and to raise it up to the higher level. It's doing pretty good. We're just letting the middle finish, and then we'll be able to get these black cakes in. All right, and then here are the black cakes going into the oven, 300 degrees, right after we took out our plain cake. Ooh, it looks really good. So we're just gonna let it cool for a little while, and then we'll take it out of the pan.
But that negatively affect them for the next 5 to 10 years. You know, and look at both of you now, there's that connection and that spark and just a real solid foundation, you know, for sure.
Thank you, Vincent. I'm supposed to be here. It felt really good to hear.
Yeah, you wanted.
I just had like a good feeling that.
Being able to introduce Tasha to my family was incredible. Yeah, today was a lot of fun.
definitely
Yum, cake, yum, yum, yum. I love cake. One cake, big
But it's
cake.
sharing to me. I don't want to.
Huh? Come over here.
Like, it's a game over in a sense. You know, like, I truly feel like Brendan could be my
What do you think?
Last kiss?
Thumbs up for the camera?
and I do like seeing him standing next to me.
For the camera? You can't see, come closer.
Okay, she didn't.
Yeah, she went into that hole.
Go, go.
Mommy! Mommy, go to mommy!
What?
I sat back and today I have a little bit of butterflies, but in the best way. Zach is extremely close to his family, so it just makes me a little nervous. But I'm looking forward.
She's here eating the whole slice. The last cake is almost done. Just a couple more minutes so that it can set in the middle because it is thicker than our first one, which recently came out of the oven. Looking good. And here's our tester.
This is the finished product. We let it cool overnight and then we soaked it with a few ounces of red wine. You can also add a little bit of rum with the wine. Give it a little kick.
As we said before, we may end up giving this cake away as a gift because we typically don't eat enough black cake to keep such a big cake around, but we do have the smaller one we made as a tester. So we'll go ahead and cut into that one and we'll show you what a slice looks like. Here is the cake we baked as a tester in a small pan. It has been soaked for a few days, just like the larger one we just showed you. And we're gonna go ahead and cut into it and taste it.
Yeah.
Of course, the presentation would be a lot better if it were the round cake.
That's good cake, if I do say so myself.
You can actually see a piece of one of the cherries hanging out there on the side.
It's good. It's moist. That's the way it's supposed to be served. It's not too sweet, and just a little piece go a long way.
Right, unless you're trying to be under the influence at the end of your dessert.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Ooh, that's good. Thank you so much for joining us for this video. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely hit the thumbs up button. Also, let us know in the comment section down below what you thought of it, and be sure to subscribe and come back for our future videos. Next time, we're gonna be making pilau or soup or something else delicious, and we can't wait to see you there.